terrible for Tommy Fury if he can't beat Jake Paul, but I don't think he can beat Jake Paul. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying you're a terrible boxer. I'm just saying you're not very good. I ruffle feathers, you know, and some people say I shouldn't ruffle feathers, but it's very boring not ruffling feathers. So Conor McGregor, sorry Dana and my friends there, but almost was UFC at one stage.
Best birthday present you've received?
I got one this year actually, a copy of the Financial Times from June the 8th, 1979. Real copy. That's probably one of the best presents I've ever had. I don't know what I'm going to get today, pants and socks.
What do you want though?
I want pants and socks, to be honest with you. I genuinely do. That's what it's come to, you know. I just give me a nice pair of pants and I'm happy. Well, you always used to look at the older generation getting pants and socks when you were a kid and think, how sad. They must be devastated. It's only when you get to that age you realise how pleasing it can be.
I'm late for work every single morning because I'm rushing around looking for pants and socks.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I've got loads.
A busy couple of days for you. Eddie, obviously we've announced that Chisora against Pula rematch is going to take place, but looking back to Saturday, Codina card in Cardiff, I mean, where to start with that? What a show. Amazing.
I mean, we paid up the money. It was expensive, you know. Not a lot of people feel sorry for us, but you know, one of these great things about the DAZN relationship is we've got the budget in place to be able to bring over world champions like Agawa for our young proteges or prospects, whatever you want to call them, to give them the opportunity to win the world title. And wow, did Joe Cordina deliver? I mean, sometimes you can, you know, fiddle your way to a world title, you can outfox someone, or sometimes you can produce something like that just gets seen everywhere around the world, and that makes Joe Cordina a star. You know, that kind of performance. Fighters have got to understand that actually, that it's the entertainment business. It's difficult for me. Sometimes I'm sitting there at ringside shouting, "Do more! Come on, stick it on him!" and they're looking down, and the coach is going, "Shut up!" Like, but at the end of the day, I want to see what you want to see, and we want to see devastating knockouts, and that was right up there, one of the best knockouts I've ever seen.
That knockout was. I was going to ask you, if I can put you on the spot. Is that knockout of the year for you so far?
It may be not just knockout of the year, but one of the best knockouts I've ever seen live because of what was on the line, because it was a 50-50 fight, because of the intensity of the atmosphere, the crispness of the shot. Like, it was just, it had everything.
When Joe landed that shot as well, the boys, you could see 3 rows behind, just going limb. You know, you were saying football, limbs all over the shot.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, people cheer in every.
They lost their shit, let's just say it. I mean, but that's because Joe's a really good kid. Like, he's very well liked, you know, it's good to see people genuinely wanting him to achieve. There were so many people there, of course his friends and family, but you know, people from Cardiff growing up, but also like all of the Team GB. They all made their way down there from different parts of England and Britain to be there and to experience it. And you could see the joy on their face. I mean, Joshua Boatsy particularly, literally jumped. You could hear his mic go down from commentary and just jump up on the apron. So, yeah, amazing.
Another Welsh boxer, Ben Crocker, from my hometown of Swansea. He went 4-0, obviously, at the weekend. Impressive show. He's good friends with my brother.
His fan base, nutters. I mean, I don't know.
All Swansea City fans as well.
I mean, just you can tell me, like, just to be clear at what they were shouting at me. So Eddie signed him up, and then you fat bastard, I think, was that the one after that? I don't know. And then Eddie is a something, but I couldn't really make out what the word was.
Well, I was going to ask you, based off the first chant, and that's the only one I know that existed, Eddie sign him up.
Yeah.
Was there going to be any movement on that front with Ben? But I feel like his supporters may have jeopardised it. No.
I was thinking that at one point when they started singing that song. I thought, I ain't signing him up now. But no, I like that. Well, not being called that, but I like to see. Don't forget, he was on at whatever time he was on, 5:30 or something like that. You know, he sold, I think, 200 tickets from Swansea on a week's notice. So obviously he has a big fan base, and he can fight as well.
Inui scored a really impressive knockout win this week. I mean, I know obviously he's a fighter that you don't actually manage or promote yourself. Where would he rank in a kind of pound for pound?
Oh, he's right up there. You know, it's very difficult for a bantamweight to get the recognition amongst the casual fans. Like, still, no one knows who he is in that casual world, but fight fans look at him as a god, and he is. You know, I mean, he's a pound for pound great. Very heavy-handed, a lot of debate going on about his hand wrapping. I saw that recently, you know, but he's a pound for pound great, very heavy-handed. Benito Donaire is a good fighter, just got obliterated. I remember taking Jamie McDonnell to Japan. He got knocked out in a round by Inoue. And Jamie's a great fighter, but the power, you know, everything, he's a real problem.
Talk about the Welsh passion for boxing. I mean, look at Japan as a target market for yourselves and DAZN.
Yeah.
But also just to engage with fans as well.
It's a different kind of atmosphere over there. The atmosphere is not quite the same as Cardiff. It's very respectful. There's like silent clappings after the end of every round. But, you know, in Inoue, we've got Kaiguchi, who fights this weekend in Mexico. Agawa, of course, many other champions as well. Kenshiro, you know, I mean, long-standing champions. Japan's a sort of long-existing market.
I was unaware of some of the comments that you said were made to you, actually, and I feel like if I'm the first Welsh person you've spoken to since Saturday, like I should probably apologise.
Right, it's all good. It's all good. I wasn't sure on a couple of chants, but you know, I went for the worst.
Going back to Chisora Pulev, you know, after Chisora's fight against Parker, there were kind of some calls for him to kind of call it a day. Were there any reservations about putting Derek back in a card?
Do you know what? When you're looking at the level that Derek Chisora is losing at, it's no disgrace. I mean, the first Joseph Parker fight could have gone either way, right? The second fight, he won. So that fight could have gone either way. He lost 115, 113 to Oleksandr Usyk. Like, the level that he's fighting at, and he feels good. You know, he's sparring well in the gym. He's showing no signs of him getting old or deteriorating, and he wants to keep competing. The fight against Pulev is a brilliant fight. I mean, I'm a bit worried about the press conference and stuff like that, and the weigh-in, if you saw the last fight. But two guys that need to win. And the fact remains is that Derek Chisora is brilliant to watch time and time again. You know, this sort of end spell of his career, he's just putting it on the line every fight. He's a fan favourite. We're going to have a great card, great night at the O2, and it's a 50-50 heavyweight fight that we're really looking forward to.
You're calling the fight total carnage.
Yeah.
That's what the casual fan wants to see, though.
Yeah, but so I always come up with strap lines for the fights, right? And they all take the mickey out of me here, the boys, saying, Ed, like, strap lines are so corny. So I said in a voice note, look, I think we should have a strap line for this fight. I don't know, carnage, total carnage. Next thing, I've received a poster and the artwork coming through with total carnage. And I said, guys, like, I wasn't really being serious about calling that. They said, well, we really like it. So for once, they agreed. And actually, when you think about it, this fight is total carnage. Press conference, weigh-in, build-up, everything. Like, and the fight itself will be total carnage, and I think it's going to be a great heavyweight fight.
In terms of AJ versus Usyk, you get asked multiple times every day about date, time, location.
So you're going to ask me?
So no, I'm going to flip. I'm going to ask you, when did you last check in with the two guys, and how are they doing, how are they feeling going into the fight?
People take the mickey out of me when I say I spoke to AJ last night, but I genuinely spoke to AJ last night, and there's been a lot going on behind the scenes. July 23rd was the proposed date for that fight, but it's all of a sudden creeped up to a point where we've got, you know, multi-city media tours, TV rights are secure, sponsorship, everything. So we've pushed it back to August. You'll find it in the middle of August, and there'll be an official announcement soon. But no problems with the fight. You're going to see that fight, and looking forward to a great victory from Anthony Joshua. I
know you mentioned that you heard August 23rd as a provisional date for Jake Paul against 13th, August 13th for Jake Paul against Tommy Fury. I know you're not involved in that fight. If you were going to predict the winner, what do you think?
It's a 50-50 fight. I mean, I think it's a funny one, because it's terrible for Tommy Fury if he can't beat Jake Paul. But I don't think he can beat Jake Paul. Like, I don't know. I mean, Jake Paul, you know, he didn't like the fact that I said he was average, but they're both average. I don't mean that disrespectfully. And by the way, there's a lot of average boxers. Average is not bad, and it's not good. So I said to Jake Paul, I actually think that's a compliment for you. I'm not saying you're a terrible boxer. I'm just saying you're not very good. And the same applies to Tommy Fury. So in that case, you know, it's a 50-50 fight in that respect. But I don't know if they'll get there, but that's the date that I heard. So I guess we'll have to see. I
was meant to be going out to the last one, and Tyson Fury's medicine ball slam to the ribs cost me my first ever trip to Florida.
So maybe you get the next one.
I can get it. I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you, basically just based around your career and your work in boxing. Who was your childhood sporting hero?
Probably, like, there was a lot of boxers, but a lot of them were guys that I used to hang around with that you might not even have heard of. So there's a guy called Francis Ampofo, he's the British flyweight champion. There was a guy called Jim McDonnell, obviously you know, the trainer now. These are guys that at 14 and 15, 13, 14, 15, I would like carry their belts into the ring, and you know, I'd go to Tottenham with Francis Ampofo, and I'd wait for everybody to finish in the gym, and we'd go to the Deep Pan Pizza, eat as much as you can for $4.99 in Romford. This is probably what happened to me over the years, but so like they were, because I was close to them. So, but you know, I think outside of that, Sugar Ray Leonard was one of my sort of heroes growing up, and I played a lot of cricket. So like the likes of Ian Botham, and you know, would follow a lot of the sort of international players. So like, again, this is quite random, but like Curtly Ambrose as a bowler from the West Indies, Courtney Walsh, you know, a lot of those stars, Brian Lara, another great batsman. Football-wise, I was a Spurs fan, so had a bit of a sort of a love for Gaza as well, whilst I was in my teens.
Who is the GOAT of boxing in your opinion?
Has to be Sugar Ray Robinson, I think. I mean, look, when you talk about the GOATs, like Muhammad Ali, for so many different reasons, an iconic GOAT of boxing. But when you talk about just ability, I think it has to be Sugar Ray Robinson. You know, the guy had over 100 fights, fluctuating weight divisions, you know, went on a huge unbeaten streak, and probably the greatest boxer of all time.
Proudest moment as a promoter?
Oh, I mean, there's so many. Like Katie Taylor the other week at Madison Square Garden has to be right up there. From an achievement perspective, maybe breaking the record in Dallas for Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders for the biggest ever attendance in the US, 75,000. The same goes for Klitschko against AJ, but obviously the result there was what made me so proud. Darren Barker winning the world title, you know, one of my first big wins. Kell Brook beating Sean Porter in California. Tony Bellew winning the world title at Goodison Park. Anthony Crolla winning the world. I mean, I'm sort of putting a few out there, but Taylor Serrano was a very proud moment recently. You know, you have to remember when we started promoting, to get a world champion was like, it was unthinkable. Now we have so many, so it's more about the moments, and that moment at Madison Square Garden recently was very special.
What would you say is your biggest career regret so far?
I don't really have any regrets. I mean, I get asked the question, if you could sign anyone, you know, and everyone knows that, you know, I had meetings with Tyson Fury a few years ago to sign, and we ended up not doing anything. So I guess being part of that story would have been great as well. Any regrets? Not really. I mean, look, I ruffle feathers, you know, and some people say I shouldn't ruffle feathers, but it's very boring not ruffling feathers. I think when we look back one day when we're all, you know, old and dribbling, they might be some of the things that make us laugh, all those memes. So I think you should never take yourself too seriously.
If you could commission a dream fight with any fighter, any two fighters, past or present, what would that dream fight be?
Muhammad Ali against Mike Tyson. Yeah.
Don't need to say much more.
And Muhammad Ali would win, because what people don't know about Muhammad Ali is his chin was unbelievable, and looking at him, and you know, he wasn't a big heavyweight, you wouldn't actually think that, but go back and watch, I don't know, the Norton fight, or watch the Larry Holmes fight when he was shot to pieces. Chin was incredible.
He's arguably the first exhibition boxer as well, Ali, because he had fights against like an NFL player.
Yeah.
He had about the time he almost lost his leg as well, he had a sort of like a prototype MMA fight,
right,
in which he was kicked in the leg and it got infected, and he almost had it amputated. So like,
yeah, but in the end, that's what he was. He was a travelling showman.
Yeah,
you know, for a lot of his career, but you know, an incredible fighter.
Best British prospect.
I mean, there are so many, but I'm going to go. I mean, you can't even really call him a prospect anymore. But I'm going to go with Dalton Smith. You know, a young man that's on the verge of fighting for the British title from Sheffield. Outstanding amateur. I think he's right up there. I mean, Galal Yafai, you know, Olympic gold medalist, only had 2 fights, 2 championship fights already. Outstanding talent.
If you were fighting, what would be your nickname?
I mean, I used to get called Hitman because of obviously Thomas Hitman Hearns, not because of my fighting ability, because it should be Shitman, to be honest with you. But I don't know, maybe that or something amusing. Fast Car always sticks. I've always been called that. Silver Spoon, something like that. I don't know.
I know you hinted that you get asked this all the time, but is there a fighter, past or present, that you wish you could have promoted that you haven't had the chance to?
I mean, again, going back to that era, Sugar Ray Leonard, Marvellous Marvin Hagler, Thomas Hitman Hearns, Roberto Duran. I mean, that four boys, and they all fought each other, which is incredible and something you don't necessarily see these days in boxing. So being around that era and promoting them would have been incredible.
One final one. Which UFC fighter would you potentially like to work with or promote?
Just Conor McGregor, isn't it? I mean, it's a promoter's dream. You wouldn't even have to do anything. You just announce the fight, let him do a press conference, you can go on holiday. You know, he's one of a kind. Obviously, I don't know a huge amount about MMA. He was very good, obviously, but what a character. Yeah, he comes really from a sport and a business where the brand is bigger than the talent, but he was one of the first that made the talent bigger than the brand. So Conor McGregor, sorry Dana and my friends there, but almost was UFC at one stage, you know, and continues to be globally, you know, one of the most recognisable faces of sport.
Absolutely. You talk about entertainment value. You said you tell guys like Cordina that's really important. I mean, Conor McGregor is just a living embodiment of that.
Yeah,
isn't he,
but,
really?
but great fighter, but huge personality, great self-promoter, controversial, funny. You know, is someone I'd like to go for a proper 12 with.
Yeah, that's two of us. I think we are literally bang on
Good
20
stuff.
minutes, so I will let you shoot off, but I want you to tell us what you got planned for the rest of your birthday.
So just a little bit of food tonight. The birthday so far has been, I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I did a 5-mile run on the road because I thought that would be a good way to start the year. I pulled my Achilles tendon, I can hardly walk. I've had 2 meetings in town, I've done this, now I'm going to go and watch my daughters play cricket and then probably get a bit of food, and that's me done. And then tomorrow's just another day.
Not a bad little birthday celebration. Eddie, thanks very much for your
Cheers,
time,
mate.
man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.